God says to Solomon,
uNkulunkulu uthi kuSolomon,
if you walk by the statutes
uma ngabe uhamba ngomumo
which your father David
ngezimiso ubaba kuDavid
kept,
azigcinile,
he says, my eyes
uthi amehlo wami
shall be upon that household, meaning the church that
azohlezi
Solomon
kule
built.
ndlu le bandla leli uSolomon
He says, my heart will also be there.
ithi inhliziyo yami nayo izoba lapho,
But he also warns him.
kodwa futhi uyamxwayisa,
He says, but if you do
kodwa
not
uthi uma
keep
ngabe ungagcini
or obey my commandments,
noma ungayalaleli umyalelo
he
wami,
says, my eyes will be removed
uthi amehlo ami azosuswa
from that church
kulelo
and
bandla
also from the people of Israel.
futhi nasebantwini baka-Israyeli,
And he says, people will wonder
uthi abantu bazomangala
as they
bazibuze
pass the church,
badlula kulelo bandla
what happened to this church
ukuthi kuyenzakaleni
and
kule
what
bandla
happened to this land.
nokuthi futhi kwenzakaleni kule sizwe lesi.
And it also says, these people will say they've turned against their God.
Labantu bazothi bajikele uNkulunkulu
That's why
wabo,
these evil things are happening to them.
yingakho lezi zinto ezibi ziyenzeka kibo.
And God says, I'll turn that church into a proverb.
uNkulunkulu uthi ngizoyenza lelo bandla leli libe yizakha.
A proverb meaning a hearsay
Izakho kusho ukuthi yinto nje imvabethi
or a normal advice
noma nje into ejwayelekile
that targets common sense.
ephokophele ekutheni engqondweni yomuntu, uqondisisa komuntu.
God says, I'll make it to become a proverb.
uNkulunkulu uthi ngizonenza nibe yizakha.
So Solomon writes the book of Proverbs.
uSolomon ubhala incwadi yezakha.
It means it's just a piece of knowledge.
Kusho ukuthi nje ingcenye nje yolwazi.
He was writing a hearsay
Bekabhala imvabethi
concerning the experience he had with God.
ngalokho yena azane nako noNkulunkulu.
But it didn't carry God's heart in it.
Kodwa zange kuphathe inhliziyo kaNkulunkulu kiko.
It was just writings, sayings
Ngokumbhalo nje
that are without God's heart.
angaphandle kwenhliziyo kaNkulunkulu.
Because Solomon asked one thing from God.
Ngoba uSolomon wabuza into
He
eyodwa
asked
kuNkulunkulu.
for wisdom.
Wacela
He
ubuhlakani.
asked for wisdom.
Wacela ubuhlakani.
But his wisdom
Kodwa ubuhlakani bakhe
was turned into a proverb.
kwaguculwa kwaba yizakha.
If wisdom is turned into a proverb,
Uma ngabe ubuhlakani kuguculwe kwaba yizakha,
that wisdom will never change anyone.
lobo buhlakani ngeke kuze kugucule umuntu.
That wisdom will never reach a person's heart.
Lobo buhlakani ngeke kuze kufike enhlizweni yomuntu.
Meaning the church of Solomon
Kusho ukuthi ibandla lika
was a
Solomon
church of wisdom
bokuyibandla lobuhlakani
without God's heart,
ngaphandle kwenhliziyo
without God's
kaNkulunkulu,
power.
ngaphandle kwamandla kaNkulunkulu.
And that's where Pharisees, scribes,
Yilapho
and writers were
abaFarisi nababhali
produced
khona, bakhicizwa khona
from the church of Solomon.
ebandleni lika Solomon.
Scribes, Pharisees, they come from
Ababhali
there.
nabaFarisi baphuma khona lapho.
Why would Jesus come
Kungani uJesu eza
going to the temple which Solomon built?
aye etempeleni uSolomon alakha,
And he finds people selling there
bese uthola abantu bayathengisa
in John chapter 2.
kuJohane.
Then he begins to beat everyone.
Bese uyaqala ushawa wonke umuntu.
After beating everyone,
Emva kokuthi abashaye
they
bonke
say, who do you claim to be?
bathi wena uthi ungubani, uzibiza
Show
ngobani.
us in which authority do we have that right to do this to us.
Sikhombe logunya onalo ukuthi
Perform
wena
a sign.
kanje. Yenza isimanga.
Jesus says to them,
uJesu uthi kibo,
if you can destroy this temple,
uma ngabe ngabhubhisa le tempele
I will raise it up again in 3 days.
ngizophinde futhi ngilivuse
And
ngesuku
then they say,
lesithathu.
no, uyazi ukuthi la kusikhathi esingakanani le temple. But Jesus was referring to his body.
Kodwa uJesu yena bekakhuluma ngomzimba wakhe.
Referring to his body.
Bekakhuluma
Meaning
ngowakhe
a
umzimba.
verb.
Kusho ukuthi izakha,
Verb meaning action.
kusho ukuthi
Jesus
izenzo.
came to that church with action.
uJesu weza kulela bandla lela nezenzo.
Confronting a church of a proverb.
Abhekana nebandla lezakha.
A church that carries men's hearsayings.
Ibandla eliphethe imvabethi yabantu.
Jesus came with a verb
uJesu yena weza nesenzo.
Action.
Izenzo
of the Holy Spirit.
likaMoya Ongcwele.
And he confronted people who were kept in men's wisdom.
Wabhekana nabantu ebebagcinwe enhlakanipheni yomuntu.
People who were kept in what comes from a man's mind.
Abantu ebebagcine kuloko kuphuma engqondweni yomuntu.
Because somebody can arrest your mind
Ngoba umunye ngayibopha ingqondo
by
yakhe
what they teach,
ngaloko abakufundisayo.
but not going to the deep,
Kodwa bangaye ekuthuleni.
not going to your heart,
Bangaye
but
enhliziyweni
only
yakho.
touching your mind.
Kodwa just bathinta ingqondo yakho nje
So
kuphela.
if I bring you close to God
Uma ngabe ngikusondeza duze
by only
noNkulunkulu
touching your mind,
ngokuthi ngithinta ingqondo yakho kuphela,
you will be a surface Christian.
uzoba umzalwane nje ophezulu.
A surface Christian.
Uzoba umzalwane ophezulu.
But God calls us into the deep.
Kodwa uNkulunkulu yena
The deep
usibizela
knowledge of who He
ejuleni.
is in the Spirit.
Ukujula ulwazi ukuthi yena ungubani kumoya.
In the Spirit.
Kumoya.
Not with intellectual understanding.
Hayi ngokuhlakanipha nje ukuqondisisa kobuhlakani bengqondo
It
yomuntu.
must be of the Spirit.
Kufanele kube ngokukamoya.
So Solomon, after building the church,
emva kokuthi akhe lelo bandla
it says he prayed,
iswakhuleka
and the glory of God entered.
inkazimulo yankulunkulu yangena
It entered the church.
yangena lapha
But
ebandleni
look at what Solomon did.
kodwa bheka ukuthi uSolomon wenzeni emva kwalokho
After seeing the glory,
emva kokuthi abone
now
inkazimulo
he gets a dream.
manje kuthola iphupho
He asks for wisdom. But
Ucela
what entered the
ukuhlakana.
church?
kodwa yini na ingenile lapha ebandleni
The glory filled the temple.
inkazimulo
But one
igcwalisile
thing Solomon could ask for, it was the wisdom.
kodwa into eyodwa uSolomon ayicela
He forsaken the glory.
walahla inkazimulo
He couldn't ask for the glory.
wacela
The
inkazimulo
glory will keep you
inkazimulo
from becoming a proverb Christian,
ukuthi ungabe umzalwane wezaga
a proverb church
ibandla lezaga
that produces proverbs believers.
elikhiqiza abazalwane bezaga
These are the acts of the Holy Spirit.
lezi yizenzo
These are the
zikaMoya
verb, the action.
lezi yizenzo
It cannot be
zikaMoya
erased.
Ngcwele. Anyeke zize zisule
If something becomes a proverb,
uma ngabe into seyiba izaga
it means it's over with that thing.
kusho ukuthi sekuphelile ngalento leyo
But if you remain being the verb of the word,
kodwa uma ngabe uhlala uba yisenzo sethu
action.
Izenzo.
James chapter 1 verse 22.
John
Be ye
five.
doers of the word.
ibani benzi
A doer is somebody who puts something into action.
wenzi umuntu
A
oyenzayo
verb believer.
izenzo
A believer with a verb.
ukuziphatha okuhambisana nezenzo
A believer with a verb.
umzalwane onezenzo
But if your mind is the only one that is targeted,
kodwa uma ngabe ingqondo yakho ngiyo kuphela kuphokophela
you can be produced as a proverb believer.
ungakhiqizwa njengomzalwane wezenzo
Carrying wisdom,
uphethe
but
ubuhlakani
without power.
kodwa unganawo amandla
Carrying wisdom, but without the Holy Spirit.
kodwa unganawo umoya oyingcwele
Solomon was not hindered from carrying wisdom.
uSolomon yena beyangabhijwanga ukuthi
But he
aphathe
never
lo
carried the
buhlakani,
glory.
kodwa azange ayiphathe inkazimulo
So you can carry wisdom,
ungaphatha
but
ubuhlakani
wisdom without the glory,
kodwa ubuhlakani unganayo
it's
inkazimulo
without the heart of God.
kungaphandle kwenhliziyo
It's without the
kaNkulunkulu
deep of God.
kungaphandle kokujula
It's
kaNkulunkulu
just the surface.
kuphezulu nje
Wisdom
kuphela.
without action.
ubuhlakani okunganazenzo
Wisdom without? Okay,
Ubuhlakani
let's just
onganazenzo.
touch it. 2 Chronicles chapter 7. Start from verse 1. Say, I love you, Jesus. A lot of people were produced by men's wisdom,
abantu abaningi bakhiqiza ubuhlakani babantu
men's philosophy.
ubuhlakani babantu
A
imfundiso
professor
zabantu.
producing professors, a doctor producing doctors.
abodokotela bakhiqiza nababona
Creation has been waiting for sons,
indalo beyilindele
deep
amadoda
things of God, people who come from God's heart,
abantu abasuka
not from men's mind, not from Bible school, but a son comes from the heart of the Father.
usuka enhlizweni kababa